Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Robin's Nest. It's the main topic I want to talk about today is some stuff coming out of the Xfinity series with Haas Factory Team. We'll get to that in a little bit, but what I want to start this off with is some rumors. Not even really so much rumors. The CEO of Formula One came out and tossed around the idea that they're going to change the format of their races because apparently younger folk nowadays don't have the attention span to watch long races. So they want to shorten the races. The races are already short, okay? If there's no interruptions, I mean, your average Formula One race is over in like an hour and a half, give or take. So it's crazy to me that this is the path that NASCAR embarked on in 2004, and I think it's a cautionary tale that everyone should be looking at and saying these are the things that we shouldn't do. But increasingly, these other motorsports entities are looking at NASCAR as, I guess, example of what to do. And I don't understand it. I really don't, because you look at NASCAR, the needle's not been moved in a positive direction at all, aside from the fact that they apparently have good salesmen that work for NASCAR because they got a massive TV deal that it has kept NASCAR afloat. Without that TV deal, NASCAR would be in a much different position today. So I just don't see long term, and NASCAR's a perfect example because they've been doing these things since 2004. So we've got 20 years into the gimmicks. And nothing's worked. What was it? The Southern 500 this weekend, the first race in the playoffs. And I think the ratings numbers came out and it was 1.8 million. You know, you look at that and you say, well, that's a lot of people. It's not, though. I mean, there's almost that in Birmingham and Mobile. You know, so that's not a lot of people in context, especially when you go back 20 years and you look at 2005, and there was 9 million people that watched the Southern 500. So this move to chase the casual fan has never worked. Okay, and for Formula One to be tossing around the idea of shortening races and doing inversions and things like that, it's a terrible idea that will not work. If you want these younger people to watch, keep doing what you're doing with the highlight reel or the recap or whatever that you post on YouTube, because that traditionally has millions of views. So you're still making money there. And that's your younger crowd that doesn't want to sit through an entire race. You will never appeal to everyone. Okay? It's just the reality of it. Racing is not for everyone. Okay, some people are just not going to like it. Do you want to alienate the people who do and will support you through thick and thin? Do you want to give them the middle finger in favor of someone who may watch for 5 seconds until they get bored and then move on to something else? You know, it's just, to me, it's not rocket science. It's pretty basic. But, you know, like I said, increasingly these series are just doing what I would call the unthinkable. And you look at Supercars, they have finals this year, which is just absolutely ridiculous. You look online at the feedback, 99% of the feedback since they announced the finals has been negative. Okay? No one asked for it. No one wants it. So why are we doing it? You know, I think Supercars has been posting a lot, by the way, over the past week about NASCAR, because apparently Austin Cindric is going to be making a start in Adelaide. And so they're on this quest to milk that cow for everything that she's worth. So they're posting left and right. I mean, it's Austin Cindric. It's not like it's a top name in NASCAR to start with. But I was reading, I think it's called speedcafe.com, if I'm not mistaken. It's an Australian-based motorsports outlet. They had a quote from someone in Australia, in the Australian government, I can't remember who it was, or in one of the townships or cities, whatever you call it. And they were talking about it's a big deal because we could get some of those viewers who watch NASCAR on a regular basis, and that's 3 million people per week. Well, you're lying intentionally, okay, because they don't have 3 million people per week watching NASCAR. Sometimes they do have 3 million. For the most part, they don't. So why are we lying about this? Why are we trying to inflate things? Why are we trying to ride the coattails of another series? Why? You know, NASCAR is not, I don't understand the shining example theory that we're all operating under. Because it's, the shining example has led them into a lawsuit right now, with 2 of the teams actively participating in the top step of their program in the Cup Series. That's an airplane, so excuse that. But I don't understand what we're doing. I don't. Most people, you jump online, like, people still love NASCAR. I still love NASCAR. But I have disdain for everything that they do. And by them, I mean the sanctioning body. Before I get on that rabbit hole, if you enjoy, or go down that rabbit hole, if you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports cars, anything else I feel like talking about, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, auto parts, anything else I feel like selling, talking about, I messed that up. Excuse that. But check out our eBay if you're interested in buying any of those things or looking at any of that kind of stuff. Link is in the description. Follow me on Facebook and X. I post motorsports content all day, every day. So those links are also in the description. Without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. Yeah, before I go on a soapbox talking about these other cities, I do want to say this. If supercars and Formula One would focus on their products rather than what can we do immediately right now to get 3 million viewers per week, which Formula One gets more than that, but not in the U.S. market, but overall. But supercars, they don't get anywhere near that. So what can we do immediately to get? Why don't you just focus on making your product better? You know, the Gen 3 supercar is not great. Looks great, sounds great, doesn't race all that well. So why don't we focus on those things? You know, NASCAR has got a car that they have shown absolute outright refusal to fix that races absolutely terrible. Okay, the fans are begging for them to fix it, and they refuse. Okay? That's not good business, in my opinion. It's not. But speaking of business, the Haas Factory Team in Xfinity is switching over to Chevrolet next year. They're going to align with Rick Hendrick. Gene Haas, the owner of the team, used to be partners with Rick back in the 2000s, back when he started the team. And so it's, you know, they're just, the band is getting back together. Okay. But I'm going to float this idea. So the rumor has been going around hot and heavy. It's picked up steam with some of the recent developments in the court case between NASCAR 2311 and Front Row, that Dale Jr. is evidently interested in getting a charter and going Cup racing, moving his Xfinity team up to Cup. You know, and typically where there's smoke, there's fire. And they ran Daytona in the 40 car with Justin Allgaier. They're not going to do that for a one-off, okay? They're going to end up being in Cup. And so, is this the opening salvo of that happening? And I'll tell you the reason why I ask that is, yes, Rick Hendrick could just have 2 teams that he's affiliated with in the Xfinity Series. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened. It won't be the last time it's happened. It's not unheard of. But what if the switch is due to the fact that Junior is getting ready to move the team up to Cup next year? And so that opens up some room for Rick to bring in another team from the Xfinity Series to align his organization with. So I just want to put it out there and say it right now, because I want if it does happen, I want you guys to know or I want y'all to be able to come back and say, well, we heard it from Forrest. I believe that Junior Motorsports is going to cup race it next year full time. And that's why all these things are starting to take place. I think it's just the first shoe to drop. We'll see. Okay, I could be wrong. And if I am, I'll be the first one to admit it. But I believe that that's probably the direction that things are going next year. So we'll see. Butterbean McQueen just announced, I think, today that he's going to be running an Xfinity race for Colleague. I can't remember if it's this weekend or next weekend. One of the upcoming races. And so I think that's pretty clear-cut evidence that he's going to be in a Colleague truck next year. There's been rumor to that effect that he's going to be in one. Some people have said things and what have you, but I think this pretty much just clarifies, yeah, he's going to be in one of those Dodge Rams next year full time. So we'll see. We'll see, but that rumor's been kicked around, and all of a sudden now he's running an Xfinity race with Colleague. Yeah, that's what's getting ready to happen. I want to circle back to Formula One for a second. Monaco is going to be on the calendar. I think they announced it today, or it may have been yesterday evening. But regardless, Monaco is going to be on the calendar until 2035. And I was reading a lot of people are complaining about that online. The track is dated. Formula One's outgrown it. So on and so forth. And to a certain extent, I kind of agree with that. The races aren't terribly exciting. It's essentially parade. I mean, where you start, unless something crazy happens, is basically where you're going to finish. But with that being said, it's Monaco, man. It's Monaco. Okay? It's been on the calendar for this long for a reason. It's the glitz and the glamour and the pageantry and all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. You just can't replicate that anywhere else. You can't. I mean, you can try, but it's not going to have the same oomph that Monaco does. So it's going to be there until 2035, and it's going to continue to be there after that. Okay, I'll bet the farm that Monaco is going to always be on the calendar. Now, they may make some tweaks to the track and change the layout. That's been rumored to be coming down the pipeline. Don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. To me, I just love racing, so I can watch it regardless. If it is just outright boring and nothing goes on, it doesn't matter. I can still watch it and get enjoyment from it, especially due to the history, because I'm a history buff when it comes to motorsports. So I don't have a problem with it. I can see where the casual fans have an issue with it, but see, it's another thing is we start changing stuff in the sport to cater to the casual folks. Well, when they casually change the channel and watch something else, then you're stuck with the hardcore fans who are now saddled with nonsense that you implemented for the casual fan who's no longer watching because they're not interested anymore. You see how this all circles back around and marries back up with with itself. I mean, it's just leave Monaco like it is my point. Just leave it like it is. It's fine. It's fine. Lancia had their new rally car photographed. Dirtfish reported on it. And a lot of people are excited about it. I'm excited about it. The more manufacturer participation in rally is a good thing. It's great. Totally stoked about that. It's not Lancia of old, just so we're all clear. Okay? This is I don't know if y'all have seen Lancia's street cars as of late, but they're garbage. From what I've seen, from afar. I'm in America, and they don't sell them here, so I just from what I've seen online and television and stuff, but I just don't. It's not the Lancia of old. So will this be a kind of a gimmicky thing where they come in and they make a little splash and then they leave? I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. But what I think this illustrates is that the time has come, and I sound like a broken record. I say it all the time, but I'm going to continue to say it because it needs to be said. Rally 1 regulations need to go away. Rally 1 needs to go away. And we need to take Rally 2 and what's left of Rally 1 and merge them together. Okay, we don't need to increase the price of Rally 2. I don't have a problem with the speed that Rally 2 cars carry. I think that's fine. I don't have an issue with it. I think people probably look back at the last few years of WRC and say that we actually have been living through the golden era, just in terms of speed, and these cars being on the ragged edge. Group B has always been everyone's golden age for rally racing, and I agree with that, but I think when you take a step back and you look at what's been happening the past 10 years or, give or take, I think, these cars are certainly faster. I believe, they're faster. Just due to aero and things like that, and the car's just planted. If you watch an onboard of, say, like this year, of any of the guys in the top step of rally going through a stage, I mean, the cars are just planted because of aero. And I don't know on the actual stopwatch if they're faster, but I'm almost certain that they are. But and it's been really, really fun to watch at times. Now, if you watch it, like I said, as just a pure diehard motorsports fan, it's always going to be fun to watch, and that's kind of where I fall. But the lack of manufacturer participation has like completely taken me out of Rally 1 over the past few years. So Rally 2 has a lot more participation. You bring the regs down for Rally 1, you bring the regs up slightly for Rally 2. Meet in the middle somewhere where it makes sense for both categories, and then just make one. Let's just have WRC. And WRC3, we rename it something else, but since that's a junior category, that makes sense. But anyways, just my opinion. It's cool to see Lancia get back in the rally game. I hope it's not just a flash in the pan thing, and they actually stick it out for a little while. Yeah, who knows? Who knows these days? These OEMs are so wishy-washy. Basically everything. Just look at Hyundai. One day we're leaving WRC, the next day, oh no, we're gonna stay. Then the next day, we might leave. And yeah, it's nonsense. So I went down the rabbit hole of watching some old WCW. Okay, and let me just start with this. I haven't watched wrestling since I was a kid. Okay, I stopped watching it in 2001, 2002. Not long after WCW dissolved and it all became WWE. Just because of the simple fact of, you look back at what was going on in the late 90s with the Monday Night Wars, where you had WCW going head-to-head with WWE, and they were just constantly trying to outdo one another, constantly. And so you never knew what was going to happen every night. It was just wild and fun to watch. Now there's only one game in town, really, basically. You have some other ones, TNA, but WWE is the biggest one. And so it's just it's just not the same. All right. But what's crazy to me is I had forgotten how popular WCW actually was back in the day. And I know the NWO thing was huge and Hulk Hogan went, yeah, I know that, but I still just didn't know overall that WCW was as big as what it was. And you look back at it, man, they sponsored NASCARs. They had monster trucks. Randy Savage was on every commercial break in a Slim Jim commercial back in the day. I wanted to eat Slim Jims just because of Macho Man Randy Savage. But I found some pictures of Kyle Petty's 49 Busch car from 1997. And I was asking some folks about it, who owned it. And apparently Dan Shaver did. The conversation transitioned into, in 2001, I believe it's 2001, Derek Cope had an accident at Richmond in a 49 car. Looked just like the car that Dan Shaver had driven earlier that season. And so I just assumed that it was one of Dan's cars that Derek was driving, and someone told me that it was Jay Robinson's. And so I wanted to open this can of worms, or unpack this, or whatever stupid phrase you want to use. Back in the day, back in the early 2000s and the 90s, and different time periods, but specifically then, The way that qualifying worked in a nutshell was that you had owner points. You had your position in the standings, with the owners. And your provisionals during qualifying would be handed out based on where you fell in the owner's points, based on who was highest, and then they'd go on from there. And so what a lot of times they would do is the backmarker teams would, and not sometimes they did it with other teams as well, but the backmarkers used to do it all the time, which is they would work out a deal for, say, someone who's higher in points, for your car to be listed as this team owner, like they're the owner, so you could get the provisional. I'm probably not explaining it well, but that's what was going on. So a lot of the times you'd see cars that were listed as a certain owner when they really weren't. And I think something similar like this happened a few years ago, or not a couple years ago, when Eric Almirola won at Sonoma, and it was listed as an Ryan Sieg car, and it had Ryan Sieg's number, or Kyle Sieg's number, but it was Ryan Sieg's team number and font and everything on the door. But it was actually a Stuart Haas car. It's a similar thing to that. All that to say, I could be wrong about that car that Derek drove in 2001. It could very well have been Jay's car, Jay Robinson's car. I don't know for sure. But I'm going to bet. And I challenge people that watch this. I'm challenging anyone that sees this to dig and find the answer for me. That car that Derek was driving in Richmond that night, was it actually owned by Jay, or was it owned by Dan and just entered under Jay's name? I want to know. I challenge you guys and gals. Find out. Let me know. Comment below. Let's open up a discussion. If you enjoy listening to me ramble about motorsports, cars, anything else I feel like talking about, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications. It works. If you're interested in diecast cars, t-shirts, hats, auto parts, basically any and everything, check out our eBay. The link is in the description. Follow me on Facebook and X for more motorsports content. I literally post on both of those all day, every day. So make sure to check them out. Links are in the description, if I could speak. As always, thank you guys and gals for watching. I appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you. God bless. Peace.